Greetings. Today we present an exceptional opportunity for you to consider. We cordially invite you to embark on a profound journey, a transition towards spiritual enlightenment that could reshape your understanding of the world. In this video, you will hear a passage titled Divine Encounters from the book The Journey Begins Within by SAVI. In this chapter, you will learn 1. Alignment with natural order. Embrace a lifestyle and diet free of manufactured products, animal flesh, and anything frozen. 2. Fasting and meditation. Regular fasting and early morning meditation, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., are essential practices for attaining heightened states of consciousness. 3. Telepathic downloads. Occasional telepathic downloads provide inspiration and answers during meditative states. 4. Surrender and letting go. Surrendering emotional attachments and letting go of all loving relationships at a certain point in spiritual evolution to deepen one's connection with the divine. 5. Renunciation for spiritual mastery. Renouncing one's complete identity and emotional attachments to make room for true spiritual growth. 6. Divine interventions. Experiences of supernatural occurrences such as lights turning on by themselves, indicating divine messages and guidance. 7. Spiritual awakening. Events. Specific instances of being awakened by a spotlight and receiving messages from the Holy Spirit, emphasizing surrender and letting go of control. 8. Diet's impact on awareness. The intake of animal-based, cooked, or frozen products decreases spiritual awareness, while a natural diet enhances it. 9. Communion with the divine. Achieving higher levels of awareness and supernatural experiences through a pure lifestyle and fasting, following teachings from the Gnostic Gospels. 10. Human body as an antenna. The body can tune into higher or lower frequencies based on diet and lifestyle, influencing spiritual connectivity and insights. I hope you enjoy it. See the video description for additional details.
Our relationship with nature. When did we forget we belong in it? When we are born into a culture, family, and society, we are from childhood shown what we take for granted. Our relationship with the environment surrounding us, and within that, the quality and sources of the food we eat. We do not question much. We have shown our parents some disdain for certain foods, which they eventually force us to eat, but we primarily become carbon copies of our parents or tutors. Whether they were blissfully blind due to their upbringing or not, very few in the world are lucky to have been born into a consciously awakened family that lives in harmony with the natural surroundings, as primarily humankind has detached from a healthy relationship with nature long ago, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And before you go ahead and label me as an environmentalist, a vegan, or any depiction of what you deem this article to be, you would do yourself a great favor and humanity to keep your identifications at bay. I have transcended a significant number of mental constructs for you to limit me in your mind, as you will miss the key points that I would like to bring to the forefront of your awareness. Our relationship with nature is significantly more encompassing than just our diet and how we live on this planet. Once we take our rightful place within nature, some, if not all, of our spiritual gifts may come into play within our awareness. There could be more reasons than economic or straightforward ignorance about current affairs. During my life, I have visited many homes of others from different socio-economic backgrounds, worldwide, from poor people living in wooden shacks with dirt floors to billionaire mansions with extremely lavish interiors and everything in between. Although some were tidier than others, there was one common element. The bathroom was separate from the kitchen. In other words, nobody eats where one defecates, and for good reason. What we put out tends to be incompatible with what we put into our bodies, and as far as I am aware, this fact applies to all cultures in the world that I have seen or experienced. I always say that the most profound truths are hidden in plain sight. We as humans also repeat this pattern in our interaction with and within Mother Nature. Somehow what we put into it is incompatible with what it gives us, yet we believe it is our inherent right to continue to do our business whichever way we want or are told we must. Nature provides for us in a never-ending loop of abundance, yet not without repercussions for our actions. Well, it is only a matter of time and scale before a closed-loop system shifts its dynamic equilibrium based on the input it gets. The issue is that if the system is extensive and the individual inputs are minimal in comparison, direct measurements can't accurately pinpoint cause and effect relations, making it hard to correlate the identification of culprits with the issues. These points are not about the arguments of global warming, as it has already been proven that our atmosphere has had several glacial and greenhouse cycles without human intervention. But this is about humanity's blindness to the fact that we live in a closed-loop spaceship system, floating in a vacuum, traveling at 67,000 miles per hour within a galaxy, traveling at 2,237,000 miles per hour relative to other galaxies. Our spaceship has a nuclear fusion reactor that provides all the energy needs of our space travel, along with our gravitational anti-collision force field, called the planetary solar system, and a life-sustainable biosphere within the so-called atmosphere. Indeed, it is a masterpiece of bioengineering and physics, if you ask me. I'd love to chat face-to-face with the aeronautical engineer capable of creating such complex systems and interactions. Anyway, I digress, but read between the lines of my sarcasm. As a species, we live, reproduce, and go generations without raising awareness of these basic facts. We solely focus on our survival without questioning how we fit into this closed loop. As we explore our relationship with the mothership more granularly, we forget or do not realize that certain symbiotic relationships exist to provide for our natural sustenance. Still, our egos and identifications cloud our eyes to what is true and what is not. We create industries that go against the planet's well-being and, eventually, ourselves. We pollute the surroundings and our bodies with the outputs we produce and do not see the interrelationships of the closed-loop system until the damage is done. Then we figure out more industries to counter our initial actions, from unnecessary medicine in the case of several chronic diseases that can be avoided through proper nutrition, to environmental systems that try to undo the pollution of others. When you open your eyes to a greater truth, you question the status quo and distinguish what is real from fiction. As a species, we have detached from what is factual in an effort to self-preserve our advancement within the societal hierarchy, with no regard for the greater good, simply because we are not taught the bigger picture from childhood. So I started to question myself and everything around me to establish what would be a plausible, healthy relationship within the inner and outer ecosystems. I realized that first and foremost, regardless of how much I tried to separate myself from my outputs when the scale was large enough, these would impact my inputs. Therefore, whatever I am here to do, I must do it responsibly, to avoid being selfish and maintain integrity in everything I do or choose to embody. Henceforth, I must experience unconditional love for myself and reflect it unto others through my choices and the effect on the closed-loop system. In this case, it meant I must change my core belief system, including the software package I downloaded throughout my childhood. It was clear to me that an upgrade in perception was needed. Unlike Elon Musk, the driving force behind SpaceX and Tesla, who also believed in first principles thinking and that humanity is too far gone to change. In Elon's view, we are in a spiral of self-destruction. Contrary to him, I have been blessed not to attain his success, allowing me to ferment and ponder more profound existential questions longer in a quest for self-realization. Only through the chaos of trial and error can one delve deeper into the first principles method in confronting failures and determine what is true versus subjectivity. If what is true is to be adopted as a general law for humanity, it must apply to every aspect of the greater whole, and not only to the individual parts. I want to share some of the questions I have pondered for over a decade since my awakening began, and I was called to reflect upon my existence on a natural plane. Why are we the only species in the spaceship that does not eat its natural diet, or live in a symbiotic relationship within its designated environment? What is a natural way to provide food for our bodies? What is food? And what is a product of our imagination and beliefs? I figured there had to be something I was unaware of beyond my carnivore-omnivore food preferences from my Argentine-Italian descent. Why would there be foods I would lose my domain on when to stop consuming, versus others I would naturally feel satiated from and not overeat? What wasn't I being taught in my family and school? Why were most elders dying of chronic diseases or cancers? There had to be a common nexus between the unseen and the experienced circumstances. So I decided in my early 30s, when I was prescribed my first pressure medication, and the cardiologist's response was, "You will take this for the rest of your life," to view it as an unacceptable outcome for me. Doctors are also the result of their environment, and although they do a fantastic job for society, for the most part, they treat symptoms, not the cause. Very few I have come across open their eyes beyond the initial medical training and are intellectually curious enough to seek alternative answers. Yet regulatory bodies and compliance boards quickly shut down any spur of individual thinking. Discoveries take decades to percolate through the stiffness of the self-imposed system, and in the wake, millions die unnecessarily complicated deaths, as the one certainty is that we will eventually all die. The question remains, can we do it less painfully and naturally? The truth is yes, but it may not suit established businesses. So now that we have determined a direct correlation between what we put in and what we get out of a closed-ended system, what is the most suitable means by which we can interact with said system? At the very essence, our own body is also a subsystem within the greater ecosystem. And whether you believe in divine creation or evolution, both philosophies and everything in between dictate that a human organism must directly interact with the system it belongs to. Hence, we must have a natural mechanism to fulfill our existence straight from the factory, our mother's womb, without any exogenous requirement for tools or methods. When we are born, we are meant to lactate from the milk our mothers provide. There is a reason why biological females have breasts. It is a sorry situation for a society in which this is even a debate point, but believe it or not, it has everything to do with our detachment from reality and our relationship with nature. We know that most babies should be capable of drinking breast milk from day one. It should be easy enough. Let's move on. Now, what happens after any mammalian species stops lactating? They eat their everyday sustenance provided by nature without adulteration, a fact for all, regardless of the source. So whatever the natural human source of food is, it stands to reason that both children and adults should be able to eat it without any necessary modification from the source, right? Unless you believe you are some alien species who were genetically modified and implanted into the ecosystem, the prior statement applies. We are continuing to dive into other first principles. What are plausible natural food sources for humankind? Fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, animal flesh, milk, honey, and eggs? Perhaps there are a few subspecies or classifications, more like plankton or algae, but we'll get into the main points in a minute. If you are still with me and I haven't lost you, you must realize that any deviation from the prior facts is not our natural food source. Examples are anything that requires some process or modification by the human hand to be ingested, which implies these are not our natural sustenance. Although we survive and can eat it sporadically, it stands to reason that we are not meant to eat it long term, or our system will break down for many reasons. So in essence, one can avoid a selfish attitude and determine that if we are to live in harmony within the large ecosystem of the spaceship Earth, then we need to eat what is intended for us to live within the system, and not what our ego dictates, distorted taste buds, or will desires. This fact should immediately eliminate everything that was somehow created by the intervention of human intellect, meaning any alteration of the natural state of food is an unnatural choice that has a negative implication for both the internal body systems and the greater ecosystem. So in basic terms, processing either by heat, cold, mechanical, or chemical alterations distorts the natural state of food for us to eat, and at its core, its essence. These are unnatural foods for our species and force upon our own body a potential issue, as its core design did not intend for said substances to be ingested in that manner, bringing undesired consequences and, in general, the causation of many avoidable medical conditions. Now let's keep going down the rabbit hole we are exploring to establish that there must be a natural order in our existence through evolution or divine design. We establish that either way, there must be a natural, symbiotic relationship between all the moving parts of a closed-loop system and the consequences of the inputs and outputs. We also establish that the ecosystem must already provide humanity's natural diet unadulterated. Finally, all mammals adapt from birth to be fed by nature from a nursing mother. Yes, there are exceptions to babies born within countless circumstances or issues, but again, we are establishing the first principle to seek the truth. There will be naysayers till the end of time, so one must welcome their opposition, gently love them unconditionally, and let them exist in their ways. Ultimately, it is their birthright to seek expression. We are not here to change anyone. We are here to uncover the truth and let the light of the truth shine upon each one to make the change required. So after this quick recap, let's focus on the next logical iteration of the concepts. If we are equipped from birth to sustain ourselves like all other animal species in the spaceship, then we must be able to nourish ourselves from what our bodies can achieve after lactating. We have 2 hands and 2 legs as the primary means to gather and bring food into our mouths in a natural state. And I trust you agree with these facts regardless of your preferences and lifestyles. In other words, if we are hunters, we should be able to eat our natural prey, and when we identify it, our mouths should salivate like the big carnivores or every carnivore subspecies. I don't know about you, but having been an avid grill master and meat consumer from Argentina, I have eaten a steak daily for several decades. Never once did I feel inclined to take a bite of the raw meat before adding copious amounts of salt and grilling it. I'm also an avid fisherman and diver, with countless killings to my name either by hand, knife, spears, or firearms of both land and water animals of all sorts. I never felt compelled to eat the fresh kill without prior processing or cooking, including sushi. So there is some basic incongruency between the fact that my body naturally repudiates the eating of freshly killed animal proteins of all sorts and what I was taught to believe since birth by my family and society. Furthermore, like all carnivore animals, I should be able to kill my prey with my extremities and mouth. The only animals I've caught with my hands in my lifetime are mollusks, lobsters, lizards, insects, and chickens. Although I managed to get my hands on all the other larger animals like pigs, cows, etc., I could not kill with my bare hands. But even the few I mentioned did not appeal to me in a raw form, so basically, unless cooked or prepared extensively, they are not meant to be a recurring food within the closed ecosystem we all belong to. Some of you might rightfully argue that we discovered fire approximately 400,000 years ago and evolved to utilize it. Still, my question to these people is, have you tried to light a fire with some stones, which must be a particular kind not readily available, or just friction from 2 pieces of very dry wood? I am confident that after you try it, you won't argue that it is significantly more accessible and desirous to our species to eat an apple, if readily available, than to chase something running away from us, kill it, process it, light a fire with hopefully dry kindling or rocks, cook it, and eat it. Unnatural means of survival came about as an adaptation to unnatural environments and ways of life, such as colder climates that do not provide our natural sustenance. If you still have a logical argument against these facts, watch a Discovery Channel video of a carnivore animal hunting down its prey. I invite you to replicate it in real life. Go to a farm, chase something you usually eat in the grocery store, kill it with your hands, and bite on it right there and then with no further processing. Please videotape yourself and upload it to the internet. You will make history, as the first confirmed human carnivore. Now, we have established that we are not meant to eat animal flesh in the natural order of things within the spaceship's closed loop. This undermines many entrenched industries and lobbies simply trying to sustain their interests despite the well-being of humanity and the overall ecosystem. We are not even close to being done here, since this is but a scratch on the surface of the blinders humanity has placed upon itself from the inception of our modern society. By now, we are done with all cooked, packaged products. Let's focus on the things we can collect with our limbs, primarily things that do not run away from us and are abundant and easy to find. Fruits when in season, green plants and compatible foliage with our digestive system, as we are not herbivores either, meaning we do not eat grass like cows, horses, etc. What are grains then, but the seeds of different types of grasses? Is there any need for these in our day-to-day diets if we can't even get the nutrients contained in them without extensive mechanical processing or cooking? The short answer is no. We are not meant to eat like cows and horses either, and hence, unless you go to a corn or wheat field and can chew directly on a corn cob or wheat kernels as they come straight out of the plants, we are not meant to eat them. That removes another substantial percentage of the grocery aisles in modern societies and frees a significant amount of our agricultural land. We keep destroying the ecosystem by occupying the closed-loop spaceship for produce and sources of sustenance that are not even the ones we are meant to eat. How crazy has the whole world become? Has nobody stopped and questioned any of these basic facts to determine the truth? Clearly not. So what is left as a natural food source in the grocery store is negligible compared to the perceived norm. Humans are meant to eat raw, unprocessed, natural produce provided by Mother Nature when in season, locally grown, and harvested when ripe. Unfortunately, as a society, we have overlooked these basic premises. In the U.S., we eat fruit or produce removed from trees or taken from the soil weeks in advance in the name of logistics and economies of scale, and we are thus deprived of the nutrients nature intended for us. Nuts and seeds are salted, roasted, or industrially processed somehow, and efforts are made to generate products that trigger addictive behaviors, ultimately driving demand and overconsumption while neglecting the health of the human body and the ecosystem it is meant to live within. Essentially, we have become so detached from our natural state of being that we continue to harm our body's internal systems and the natural ecosystem within the closed-loop system we call Mother Earth. I'm not here to advocate one diet over another, one medical system over another, or to dictate what we should eat. I aim to raise awareness, enabling you to draw conclusions and broaden your perspectives. The more we allow each person to discover the truth for themselves, the easier the shift to a sustainable, symbiotic way of life will be. Imposing our beliefs on others will only create resistance, leaving us stagnant. While new ideas will face endless opposition, remember that we do not live in the isolated bubble they made us believe since birth. The truth is right before our eyes. We are an inherent part of this ecosystem, naturally equipped to nourish our bodies and live what should have been an everyday life. You then face a choice similar to Neo's in the Matrix movie. Continue being oblivious, accepting the lies you've been fed, or choose to awaken to your true potential, ready to face the consequences that come with it. The truth will be so, regardless of your beliefs. Apply the first principle logic to your questions and you will find the answers. What about the rest? The list needs to be more extensive than this text is meant to encompass, but you will begin to understand once you ask yourself these questions. Do mammals lactate past a certain age? Are there other cross-lactation examples in nature besides the human dairy industry? What about eggs? How many eggs would we encounter by walking in nature during a week's stroll if we walked freely on Earth? Would these eggs be unfertilized like those in grocery stores, or would they contain a developing embryo when found? Do you find cracking an egg and eating an unhatched baby bird appealing, as reptilians do, or are you generally disgusted by the thought alone? I found the truth long ago and adapted my life to follow evolution or the divine natural order. Why aren't you doing the same already? And what are the implications for your long-term health and society? The short answer is that you are too busy fighting for the day-to-day needs, and in the survival struggle within the socio-economic order, there is little time or room for independent thinking. Whether this is by intended design by a sinister, dark, unknown force, or simply by serendipitous design is unknown to me. It takes a great mind and a strong will to go against the grain and the fabric of the perceived reality, even to ask intelligent questions, let alone find the answers. Don't expect extraordinary if you are ordinary. Be blessed. SAVI.
If the content moves you, we invite you to embark on your journey by purchasing a copy of the book at Amazon, Kindle, or iBook today. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring. The journey begins within. Click like and subscribe for additional details. See the video description.